and Dallas Penn.
Stand up. Internets, you're tuned into the Combat Jack Show, thecombatjackshow.com. Yeah, yo, listen, man. I want to give y'all a shout out for riding through last week's episode of the Combat Jack Show featuring 2 Chainz. You know, as I explained last week, man, this was our excursion down at A3C. The good folks at A3C flew myself, Pre-Pete, and Dallas Penn down to the ATL where we rocked it. Yo, shout out to Bossip. Shout out to Ja. Shout out to Tree Sounds. Shout out to G-Rock from the Shoe Game. Shout out to Groove Chambers. Shout out to I Am Molly. Shout out to, ATL gave us so much love, my dude.
Yo, let me explain to you real quick how much love they said. When I was coming back on the flight home, okay, I was trying to get a standby. The dude I was
Buddy
talking
pass?
to, I was trying to get an earlier flight.
Yeah.
The dude was talking to me. I gave him my credit card. He swiped. He said, if you get an earlier flight, it'll charge you. I said, appreciate it. Here's my license. Here's my card. Swipes it. 2 seconds later, says, yo, are you Premium Pete?
Yeah.
I said, what are you saying? That? He goes, I listened to the Combat Jack Show.
Airport?
Dude turned the standby into a full ticket.
Yo, man, don't snitch on TSA, B.
Yo.
Do not snitch.
Yo, shout out to
Don't snitch on TSA. You just lost that man his job, B.
But they don't even know who he is.
During the government shutdown. All they got to do is check and see Pete, ATL, early flight.
Allegedly.
You just fucked it up for that
Combat.
dude. Yo, man, be quiet with that, man.
Okay, but the love is real out here.
They're giving us love,
real.
and you giving them hate by snitching on these cats, man. Listen, internets, man. This is part 2 of our special series. Last week y'all got 2 Chainz, and once again I want to thank y'all for riding out. The quality sucked, man. We went through some fuckboy shit. They really didn't. You know, this is not A3C. I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody, but the quality sucked. Y'all rode through that. You know, thankfully this part 2 with Bun B, the quality is a whole lot better. You know what I'm saying?
And we had a special guest.
And we had a special guest, man. You know, we were expecting to have Don Cannon. You know, affiliates, Def Jam, you know, show up in the spot, but he didn't show up.
Where is Don Cannon?
I don't know. He didn't show up, man. Like, cats still feel that comfortable enough to just leave us hanging.
I don't know.
So I'm sitting there, and I look in the front of the audience, and it's DJ Maseo from the legendary De La Soul group.
Legend.
And Mace has been trying to come on our show for months, man. Just months.
Just sitting in the stands.
And he was sitting there in the front. Because he fucks with the Combat Jack Show.
Bun gets introduced, right?
Bun comes to the stage. We introduce Bun to the stage. And I look at Mace. I'm like, yo, man, fuck all the formalities. I want to have a kind of quasi De La Soul episode. So we pulled him up on stage and we rocked it, man. So what y'all about to listen to right now is a real impromptu freestyle discussion with a grown men of rap. You know what I'm saying? Myself, Dallas Penn, Premium Pete, you know, featuring the OG, Bun B, and Maseo from De La Soul. So listen, man, fuck with it. You know, hit us up on comments. Yo, you know what? I've been slacking, man. I've really been slacking. I haven't been pushing y'all. I really have not been pushing y'all to go to our iTunes page. Subscribe, rate, comment. They love comments. iTunes is fucking with us. Did you not see that headline they gave us a couple of weeks ago with the Big Daddy Kane episode? They want to give us more. They want to give us more. I see they're giving the other podcast down the street. You know
what kind of podcast?
Some other podcasts, man.
What the fuck is that?
They be comparing us to. No shots, you know, we all in the same ecosystem, but they giving some other podcast, you know, features.
I mean,
and other podcasts have stepped it up.
I mean, have they?
Stepped it up.
But I mean, listen.
Yo, salutes to the other sides. I see y'all. Y'all stepped it up.
Yo,
But y'all know the deal. Listen.
Yo.
Let's jump into this Bun B, DJ Maseo A3C episode. Tuned into the Combat Jack. F your radio. F your TV show.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage to the Combat Jack Show, A3C Atlanta 2013, the Trill Gladiator himself, UGK for life. Make some noise for motherfucking Bun B!
Cheer.
Yo, this whole outfit right here is a little janky, man. So, you know, pardon us, but we're going to give you the best. This is hip-hop, right? This is hip-hop, right? We don't need no seats.
What,
we don't need no microphones.
That's yours, Cameron.
Did he just say my outfit was fucked up? I'm trying to figure out.
No.
I'm trying to figure out the context of outfit. Like.
No. What I say? No, I'm saying the setup. The setup, like, you know.
Okay, well, yeah. Let's say setup. Let's say setup.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. See,
P,
you know,
P, what you standing on
I'm
the corner
hanging
for?
in the corner. First off, when people say shit is hip hop, you know what was hip hop? Bum being introduced, and then him and another legend saluting. That's hip hop.
Well, I mean, people give it up to me as an OG. I got to give it up to my OG. That's just real recognized. Pause.
Actually, you know what?
Just real recognized real.
Hold up. I'm going to do something that wasn't scripted. Yo, internet, ATL, A3C, I would like to, invite to the stage DJ Maseo. Come up on stage, man.
Okay. Give it up for that man.
Salute. Salutations. My name is Maseo, plug number 3, the original MP3.
Yes.
From De La Soul. Peace.
Now, this is a little unorthodox because usually for every episode, for every show of the Combat Jack Show, I prepare notes. I prepare notes and notes and notes and notes. We gonna fly this.
And that should be awkward, too.
What? My notes?
Yeah, that shit. I just want to say that should be awkward.
Why?
Because we're gonna vary. We're gonna veer away from that shit anyway.
Okay, but I'm not one of them MCs that don't write. I write my rhymes. You know what I'm saying? I write my shit in the book.
But as an MC, you got to be able to freestyle too.
To improvise, right? All right, fuck it.
Yeah.
So we know that you got the we know you came.
I think he's ready to get rid of his cell phone.
Fire written. We know you came with the fire written, but now you gotta come off the dome.
When Bun Beat says something, people listen, right?
Right. Yo, before we go any further, can we correct Pete on the pause? Because Pete thought the pause was about the low mic.
And can you come down here?
Yeah, like no, can you come down here? That's a little, I don't know, but it was like the mic is kind of low. That was the real pause.
That was the real pause.
Yeah.
So Maceo, man, finally, man, welcome to the Combat Jack Show, man. How you feeling, man? You got a mic?
I'm feeling good, fam. I'm feeling real good.
What are you doing out in ATL, man?
Participating in the A3C. I stumbled on it maybe about 3 years ago, working with Rasta Roots. Played a night at MJQ's, and I was like, where am I? The New York Music Seminar? It brought back strong memories of that, and I'm glad to really be a part this year.
Now, thank you, man. And thank you also for the support, man. I'm personally curious from a selfish perspective. How'd you hear about us, man? How'd you hear about the Combat Jack Show?
My man, Sean Lala, my son's a fan of your work, They put me on. They keep me abreast of what's really popping. I mean, me and my sons had a major dispute one day about what we considered real hip-hop from yesterday to today and the people they thought that I should be working with today. Although there's a lot of them that I like a lot, I know where it would be damaging to work with them. And that was something I was trying to explain to my sons. And then they came back to me later. And that's how I was beginning to learn about what you was doing. I learned about Mac Miller. I learned about just Vinny Chase. I learned about so many others that because they began an understanding of what is more associated and affiliated with what I do.
I went through this experience several years ago, man, where I was falling into the, the stereotypical old head when Soulja Boy was hot. And I was joining the whole, like, man, fuck Soulja Boy. That's not hip-hop. And I'm from New York, too, so New York cats really have that extra finicky attitude with regard to hip-hop. So I was like, fuck Soulja Boy. Yeah. And then one day I was in the living room, and it was my two sons and one of their friends who's a blonde and blue-eyed white kid and an Asian kid, and they were all in the living room doing the Soulja Boy dance. And they were probably about 12, 13 at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm peeping them. And they got so much joy doing the, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, they are experiencing their hip hop the way we experience ours.
When we were doing the biz dance, the WAP,
the Kid and Play,
Joe Ski Love,
Pee Wee Herman,
the
Cabbage Patch.
Here come their era of those dances with the Superman from Soulja Boy.
See, in my house, there's a different dynamic because my son is an artist, but my son doesn't do the kind of music that I do.
How old is your son?
My son is 27 now. Okay. Yeah, I'm an old nigga. So
Nah, you just had him when you was 10. You are from Houston, Bun.
And now we know Dallas is in the building, internets. No, but it's a different thing. Like, I come from a different era. I looked up to different people, and I emulated different people. I came from an era where I looked up to, you know, the Coochie Raps and guys like that, aggressive dudes that I felt kind of reflected who I was. And they was ugly, but they was fly niggas like me. You know, I'm not trying to say Coochie Rap is ugly. But
he's not the most handsomest.
Yeah, and neither am I. But on the other side, like, I married a beautiful woman, so my son is handsome. Right. So he don't have to be as aggressive. Like, he got the lady, so it's a different dynamic for him. So he's doing music that I never would have done. But it's true to his experience and who he is, so I can't knock him for that. I have to let him do what's true to him and me do true to me. And plus, I told him, I'm like, yo, if you're going to rap, you can't be a lyricist because you'll never be as good as me, nigga. So,
dream those dreams.
Hey, that's the friendly competition right now.
But it lit a fire in him. It lit a fire in him. And to this day, my son's been doing this thing for years. I've never given him a verse. Mm-hmm. I've never, like, hooked him up with beats. Everything that he's gotten on his own. So he feels a certain way about that. He's like, I'm trying to see how far I could get without having to ask you for nothing. You know, and I tell him, I'm like, hopefully you can take it all the way to the top and never need me for anything. It'd be better than me because you got the women after you. So that's the win right there. You good right there off top.
Women and children buy records.
I'm telling you.
Now, Maseo, you're a father as well?
I am a father. I am a grandfather.
You're a grandfather.
Grandfather.
Give this man a round of applause, man. Rap grandfathers in the building. Now you hit the scene in the 80s, man, like the first golden age of hip hop.
88.
Mm-hmm. No one straight, right? You've seen a lot of changes, man. Like what's your thoughts overall in terms of where we are, where we were back then and where we are today?
To try to surmise it a little bit, hip hop was only available to us on the weekends. That was really the big thing.
Friday, Saturday. Late night too.
Friday, Saturday, absolutely.
You could catch a little Thursday in the overnight.
WHBI was late on Thursday nights.
In that late night, yep.
But that was still technically Friday, though.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, and that's the truth.
Professor Bun.
And I mean, for the majority of us who really looked to be a part of it in an entertainment way, we was getting ready for the party on the weekend. You know, it wasn't even about
Union Square
making any money. I mean, for us, I was still a fan when it was Union Square era. I was dreaming of still trying to be at Union Square and Latin Quarters. You know, my day really didn't hit until the latter part of Latin Quarters, you know, and the beginning of the building and Hotel Amazon and Payday and all of that. But I was still a fan taking it home, you know. It was in the boroughs. So here it is. My introduction was when I moved to Long Island. And
From where?
I lived in Brooklyn.
Okay.
You know,
Brooklyn, what up?
Big up Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, what up? Nobody from Brooklyn.
But I give...
There's always somebody from Brooklyn in hip-hop.
Yeah, real talk. But I pay mad respect and much homage to Long Island because that is really where I got my start in hip-hop, in the business and the entertainment side of it.
Now, I'm going to cut you off, man. What the fuck was going on in Long Island that during that period you had so many legendary artists coming out? You had Public Enemy. You had yourself. You had Eric B. and Rakim. You had Biz Markie. You had a whole slew of cats that changed the game instantly. EPMD. I mean, well, whoever else I'm missing.
Young black teenagers.
I mean, yeah, young black. I mean, yeah, R.A.
Yo,
yeah.
Can we mute?
I mean, it was so many. Freddie Fox, JVC Force. You know,
Google them, internet. Google them.
It was I mean, when you in that era in time, I like to call it Genesis, and New York is definitely known to have a strong ego when it came to this culture. Can't nobody get down or be in. You more so had to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think that attitude spread it all the way down south. Definitely starting with, you know, when the Bronx didn't want to let Brooklyn in. And then Brooklyn wasn't trying to really fill Queens or Staten Island. And here come Long Island, you know. And I think
and we gave Staten Island a hard time until the Woo.
Well, we had foursome seeds for a while, and then
but they were singers. They were still singers, and
they had the hip hop do up. They wasn't doing nothing different from Flash and them.
Right.
Honestly, they really wasn't. They was all.
What's the difference between Foursome D's and Jurassic 5?
A lot of crack. A lot of crack cocaine.
Yeah, a lot of crack cocaine. Yeah, a lot of drug abuse.
I meant musically.
A whole lot of drug abuse.
But thank you. Thank you, brother. I tried to put it in one perspective, and this cat.
But let me interrupt you, man. Like going back to what we have today. I'd like to call as Little B told me. We got the rap conservatives versus the rap liberals. When y'all came out, man, y'all was real progressive in terms of what hip hop was, man. Cass was like mean mugging and gold chains, and here y'all come with like the paisley shirts and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, more
spelling your names all weird and shit.
More lighthearted, fresh air, coming from grass and trees, and a multicultural background. Where you was a lot more open minded to things in the world, things in life. Here it is, sharing different households that really are so close. I felt like when it came to Long Island, we're the countryside of New York to a degree, but we share the same struggles in Texas, same struggles that was in Compton. Don't get it twisted.
Right.
I lived on a street called Smith Street that was the crack heaven. Anybody know Long Island,
Potholes on your lawn.
Yeah, it was a whole lot going on, But for the most part, I had a friend cross town on the other side of the street named Pasta Noose. We call him Pasta Noose, who wasn't living around the same type of conditions I was. So we got to share households, where I may come from a single parent home. He got both his parents, so I'm sharing his pops for the most part. So I'm getting another level of parenting and something that's playing a part of my development as an individual and with my music.
Now, when y'all came in the game, did y'all get a lot of pushback? Like, yo, those cats ain't hip hop?
I mean, that was hip hop. It was not much acceptance. You had to be a force to be reckoned with. You had to come in and, prove yourself. You had to come in. I mean, everybody longed to be different anyway. It's like, it's an era that we came from where I go, I want Chuck D to feel what I'm doing. I don't care about the record company. I don't care about the radio station. If anything I care about at the radio station is the guy who's DJing, and that's Red Alert. I care about him. I care about Chuck Chill Out. I care about what they think. I want to be a part of this alumni that I'm growing up, being inspired by. The very thing that's giving me the drive and the passion to feel good about myself every day.
Now, when you look at the terrain of hip-hop right now, going back to my original question, what are your initial thoughts in terms of what you see and your feelings about it? As an elder in the game and where it is today?
Lack of creativity. People truly for self. Corporate infrastructure definitely has tainted even the minds of the people who really want to do it with integrity. It's a microwavable format that forces you to come in if you want to be a part of the business of hip hop. You gotta compromise. You have to, and it's been happening like that from the beginning. The pendulum has swung. We are allowed to be negative, where when we were coming up, we wasn't allowed to curse in a record. You probably would have heard the message a whole different way if Melly Mel wanted to record that record truly the way he wanted it, cussing and everything. But due to the FCC back then, you couldn't have, certain derogatory connotations in your record. It wouldn't get no play. Today, you could have nothing but that, it's a crazy oxymoron in this era and that era, and I think they figured out that it makes money, but we can still cause destruction with it. They manipulated how, we can super saturate. And don't get me wrong, the music that appears, I would rather say appear to be negative, because a lot of cats is really repenting, telling their story. They glad to be rapping and hustling. They glad to be rapping and running up in your house and sticking a gun in your mouth, you know? So the music is more of a repent and happy that they're doing what they're doing, and it gets sold in a derogatory format based on the corporate infrastructure. We know more about 50 getting shot than we know about God made his style, God made his grace. You know, we know more about what they want to portray negatively as opposed to his positive path to where he's gotten to today. So it's the corporate format that we always been up against from day one, you know, and we fighting that now with A3C. You know?
Do you think, honestly, that in 2013 there would have been a new group called De La Soul?
No, I mean, it was meant to be for the time that it was meant, but I think, you know, when I look back with the blessing of there being a group like De La Soul, we got an odd future today, you know. We got a Tyler, the Creator. We got a Kanye West, you know. We have so many more, you know, that helps participate in bringing the balance to the culture, you know what I mean? So.
Now, Bun, your first album came out, UGK first came out in 1993, correct?
92.
92.
Yeah.
And you have an album, the Epilogue?
Yeah.
Coming out next month. Yeah. What's the difference between recording in 91, 92 and recording in 2012, 2013?
I guess the primary difference is accessibility to equipment. Back then, when I was recording in 91, 92, there weren't a lot of studios that would even let you come in and record rap music. The ones that did, the engineers didn't really know how to really sequence music, how to really, you know, dump tracks out. It was just a very awkward situation because they had no reference point. You know, most of the engineers, I'm from the South, so it's a little bit different. Most of our engineers were used to, you know, country records, R&B records, soul records, jazz records, blues records, but not rap music. So they were used to different timings, different things like that. After you pass all of that up, then it was about being able to afford studio time. You know, studios in a city like Houston in 1992 were few and far between. If you were recording in the studio, you were at maybe 1 or 3 places. So, you know, it's a lot different. I mean, if you walk in this Apple store right now and buy a laptop, you got 8 tracks off top without even asking. You know? So, I mean, 8 tracks used to be like, that was you were bad if you had 8 tracks. And
they got 8 tracks.
If you had 8 tracks at home that you could record to, you was a bad man. You probably came from a real good family and shit like that, you know? So it's just really about the accessibility of the equipment, the
quality.
And then, you know, back then we were analog. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the way that you guys can take now, you can have like a zip drive and take your whole session. We used to have to carry like 2-inch tapes. You know what I'm saying? And then you would need, say, like, and say, like, I'm carrying this 2-inch tape, right? So it's about this thick, this wide, probably weighs about 15 pounds, and it's got 8 tracks of music on it. So if I want 24 tracks on my song, I got to carry 3 of them.
You have to work.
You know what I'm saying? If I'm lucky enough to be able to get in the studio that had 48 tracks, which was as high as you could go at the time, most dudes are doing 48 tracks just of vocals nowadays. If you could go somewhere, that's 6 reels. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe each reel was what, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, maybe top, depending on the kind of money you had. So I might have 2 songs. So if I got my album, we talking about like 20 reels. You know, so it was a different discipline. It was a different respect because like, yo, we got to get in here. We got to, you know, back then we used to rehearse the rhymes before we went in the studio to lay them because we couldn't afford to be in the booth.
You was getting charged
playing.
for every minute.
Yeah, you couldn't be in the booth playing. So every time you had to stop. And then, like right now, everything is simultaneous. So like you in, I guess, you know, Pro Tools or whatever, and, you know, stop, bring it back. It's instantaneous. Stop, bring it back. You're back to recording in a second. Well, back then it was a tape. So the tape had to wind back and start from the beginning. Back like nowadays, you punch in verses. We got artists in the room, right? Nowadays, you punch in verses. Back then, we used to have to literally cut the verse and put it together. So if your engineer
really edit, copy and paste now.
And then like maybe the engineer that could record you couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Only a handful of people were even good enough to do that. It was the same difference if you used to have cassette tapes back in the day and your cassette tape pop. Then you had to bust that joint open, get the scotch tape and the razor blade and put that thing back together.
You never fuck with the nail polish.
I never tried the nail polish. I was a cut creator with that razor blade and that scotch
No question, me too, but has anyone ever fixed a cassette tape with nail polish? There's a fable about that. I've never done that.
That seemed kind of thick, though.
Yeah, when that shit burned through the tape, though?
It seemed just kind of thick.
There's a myth about it. I want to know, does it happen?
My man said he did it.
You've done it.
Oh.
So,
everybody.
So it's still an urban legend, right?
Like the Smurf.
He just catfish us? Did he just?
No, he rap
fished us.
He rap fished
you
us.
just rap fished us. Your man did. Okay.
But yeah, that's
right.
the biggest difference to everything I see now is accessibility. You know, everything is so much easier for y'all to access nowadays. To put it in perspective for the people in this room, how many people know how hard it is to get a Supreme hat? How many people know how hard it is to get that Christmas Jordan? All right? That's how hard it used to be to get hip-hop. That's how hard it used to be to get in the studio, to hear people rapping, to record hip-hop, to even listen to hip-hop on the radio. If you weren't up waiting with the radio and the tape, if you didn't record the hip-hop show, you couldn't even prove it happened.
I mean, even going to see live shows, like a show like the Combat Jack show, like this setting right now, if this was going on back in '88, oh, they would have been a fight. Somebody would have got a $150 in the face 9 out of 10. Am I right? But so with the recording process being so easy right now, comparatively, how does someone like you maintain the fire? Because when shit gets easy, human nature is to be like, eh.
Well, don't get it twisted. Recording rap is easier. Rapping ain't easy.
Right. You got to say that again, man.
Yeah, I'm just saying. You know, the facilities and the means to put a verse down to music is much simpler, but the means to make that shit hot ain't no easier. And in fact, it's harder because y'all got more competition and you got more bullshit to cut through. You know, when we were recording music, everybody knew who the suckers was. We never even acknowledged them niggas.
Wait, who is the sucker? Who is the sucker MC, man? Who is the sucker MCs, man?
The sucker MC, you know what? I'm going to give you both sides of the sucker MC. The sucker MC is the dude from the hood trying to act like he ain't from where he from, trying to church his shit up to be accepted by a group of people. That's the sucker MC. The other sucker MC is the dude from the burbs trying to act like he came up in a struggle that he know he doesn't represent. That's the sucker MC.
Real talk.
Now, Bun, I asked
choose your side.
Mace this, but asking you, man, what are your thoughts in terms of like the terrain of hip hop right now compared to what it was back then?
Well, the difference is the reasoning for wanting to be an MC. I think is the biggest difference. When in my days there wasn't really a lot of money to be earned. It was really more about respect and wanting to, like he was saying, wanting to walk up to MCs that you looked up to and them saying, "Yo, you nice with it." That was the payoff back then. There wasn't really a lot of monetary payoff. Nowadays, the money is everything. The money is kind of like the easy part. So, and people will pay you to not respect yourself in the music industry. So you got to recognize that. So the hard part is to fight to stay true to who you are. Back then when we wanted to be who we were, we just kind of did what we did. And because there was not a lot of hip hop, everybody gave you a chance. It was like, okay, I'm going to listen to him and see if I can relate to it. And a lot of what we call gangster rap or reality rap, in the early days, it was true to some of the early people. That was their struggle. That was really what they represent. And for some people nowadays, it is true. But the same way that you look at a TV and be like, okay, I want to be famous like him, so I'm going to try to make my shit reflect his shit. That's how it is. We got a lot of people trying to say that they're conscious about reality in life, and they're not. We got a lot of people talking about they're gangsters and they're real, and they not. And that's what's wrong with hip-hop nowadays. There's a lot of misrepresentation for profit. And when I say profit, profit isn't always monetary profit. Some people want to be cool with certain people, so they'll perpetrate a fraud just to be hip. Like certain dudes like certain type of chicks, so they're going to dress a certain way and act a certain way in front just to try to get to those chicks, because that's how you got to look to maybe to get that chick's attraction. Right. You know what I'm saying? Or vice versa.
Now, one of the things I definitely appreciate about De La Soul is y'all definitely had a different image that went against the grain. And y'all had the Daisy age and the whole nine. And this is before the age of like World Star and video cameras and the whole nine. But the word got out, like if you fuck with De La Soul, Mace will fuck you up.
I never advocated no violence. You know, I've just always been in a good situation where I was able to protect myself pretty well. I mean,
You was nice with your hands.
I'm pretty good,
Okay.
you know. But here it is. People who can fight don't have to say they can fight. And I didn't come to fight. But if somebody approached me in a negative manner, I'm going to do everything I have to do to defend myself. It's just that you have a certain image of me and an impression of me that when I come out on top, it's more inflamed because of what I'm perceived to be. You know, here it is. It's expected for me to get my ass kicked, you know. And I kind of like that part.
Because they sleeping.
Because you sleeping on me and we'll learn different, you know. And I can't say I came out on top every time, but dudes who really thought I was...
Dudes that slept got slept on.
Yeah.
I mean, they got slept.
Yeah, pretty much.
They got put to bed.
Punks
You know-
jump up to get beat down.
Yes.
You know,
You guys changed the game. You guys came in with the Daisy Age. And the minute, I think one of the greatest things, one of my favorite books is The 48 Laws of Power. And I think one of the greatest rules in the 48 Laws of Power is always reinvent yourself. So at a young age, you come out, you guys changed the game with the Daisy Age, and then you guys come out with De La Soul is Dead. Like, what was the process that took you to that point to, like, we got to change shit up?
well, I had some good, people in my corner, in our corner when we first came up. Big up to Stetson Sonic.
Stetson, go Stetson.
Big up
Go
to
Brooklyn.
Google that. Google
Stetson
that.
Sonic. That's the group Prince Paul was in, y'all, Prince Paul is the one who put me on, and he was in the group Stetson Sonic. And between Stetson Sonic and Biz Markie, we got a lot of early teachings about this business, from the corporate end of how they try to bastardize your soul for monetary gain, and another end of the hip-hop fan who are so critical and so loving and so passionate about the music, but they're not loyal to the artists that make the music. They'll write us off come the second, third album, especially if it's starting to look a certain way to them. And here it is back then, the labels definitely would do anything in the world to sell a record. This hippie thing came along I know nothing about. I have no clue. What I began to learn, it did remind people of that. But if I had harnessed that thought process when I was younger, maybe I'd have had maybe it would be no De La Soul is Dead. Right. But I was upset with the manipulation of the selling of our music. And here it is, genesis of hip hop. If you went gold or you went platinum, you was considered a sellout back then.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy.
Which was nuts. Like, the fan didn't want you to really be successful. They wanted to keep you for themselves, like it be sacred, some underground thing like that they only know about, and you gotta kind of be down with this alumni to even know, which inhibit us to, now we just look like peddlers if we continue on like that. We look like dudes who just getting out there with a hat talking about, yo, I'm rapping them, plug one, plug yo, Pots and Dove, stand clear, baby, plug this with the line 1 and 2, and then while they rapping, I'm walking around with the collection. You know what I'm saying? We didn't want to do it like that. I think nobody wanted to do it like that. I mean, even watching the days of Run DMC come along and Eric B and Rakim come along, showing that we can be successful monetarily and be celebrities and stars if that's what you aim to be,
and keep it real,
and keep it honest with yourself.
Mace, let me tell you, one of the things I think we were fearing at the time is I think we had an innate knowledge that hip hop was going to become rock and roll, that your success, that the success of the music, of the culture, was going to spread out from us, and then Elvis would come.
Yeah, right.
Elvis would come, and then it wouldn't be ours anymore.
Well, that's what's happening now. It is, to a certain degree. And, I gotta always resort back to the spirituality in it all. God is divine, no matter what the powers may do to the powers that be may do to try to destroy this on a grand scale. God is always going way out. You know, here it is. We do have our quote unquote white Elvis, and his name is Eminem, but he's a real MC. You know, and he pays homage to black artists that came before him and that inspired him to do what he does today.
I don't blame the artist Eminem.
Elvis didn't give props to Chuck Berry.
Well, Mace, not just on a personal level.
And this is where I gotta say the pendulum has swung on another level where this is the only genre of music that brought all ethnicities together and genuinely, like, it has touched everybody's soul genuinely. Globally. I traveled the world to this day. You know, I'm going to places where people don't speak the language at all, but can recite a rap lyric from my record, his record, and every other record that they feel is credible in their lives. I mean, I'm watching the music truly take over people's souls. Like, you got people who want to be in this and don't really know what direction to go monetarily, but they feel it so much that they live and breathe it every day of their lives. You know? And it's a soul connection. It's a total soul connection, no matter what color. This is the only music I truly see that don't have no color line.
You know, I don't want to make this a race thing, but
it's all connected, fam.
That's
it's all
his job.
connected.
That's his job.
It's all connected. You know, it's definitely all connected because this is the culture and the genre that really speaks honestly. All the other genres, they talk about pretty much one dynamic. I think the only other genre that come close to hip hop is probably country music, really based on the
blues.
They always fucked up.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about, Mace. I'm worried about the culture. Now, you travel worldwide, so I mean, you can see the culture on a global level. But I worry about the culture maybe here domestically more so than in Africa or Asia, where education has left our youth. It's left our youth, and I feel like we're the only people left who can kind of grab this young baby generation, not even high schoolers, but younger, babies even, and give them back the culture.
I agree with that, but then in conjunction with that, we need those who are more current and relevant as we speak now. Like, it's cool, we got me and Bun here, but I need 2 Chainz here. You know, I need Weezy here.
A3C, we had 2 Chainz here.
You know, but in the same seat, not on a different day.
Right.
Like,
Take it. Yeah, you're right.
I come from the era where we was all under one roof. So there's the dynamic of the separation in the genre itself. Like, we not under one roof. Over here, you got De La, The Roots, Common, Tribe. Over here, UGK, NWA, Ghetto Boys, Too Short. And I remember coming up, being with them.
Same tours.
I grew up with Bushwick Bill, real talk, but being fans, not only just doing what we do, but being fans of one another and respecting creativity and originality and honesty in the music. Like, I may never ever make a record with him, which I would love to. We've been trying to.
We're going to make that happen. We're going to make that happen.
But at the end of the day,
let's get a round of applause. Let's make that happen.
I mean, we both been trying to. You know what I mean? Don't get it twisted.
Right.
But if it never happened, I'm a fan of his music.
Yes.
Like, I started out a fan before I was in this, and it's his music that also still give me the motivation to keep doing what I'm doing, as well as Eminem, as well as Yellow Wolf, as well as Vinny Chase. It's what's touching my soul. I'm hip hop. And if you touching my soul like that, it's giving me the inspiration to go back to the lab and do this at the age of 43 with 4 kids and grandchildren.
Rap grandfather in the building. Now, I got a question though, man. Like back then when you guys were in the game, because I was sitting on the sidelines as a fan.
You were doing contracts and shit.
But still, you guys had
fucking up contracts.
Stop that.
You did the cold chilling contract, didn't you?
Stop that.
Didn't
Stop
you?
that. No shots. No shots.
Turtlenecks.
But how did y'all feel like putting in the time and the effort and going against the stream that was the industry, and then seeing the mass push behind Vanilla Ice? Like, what was your initial, like, honest response?
The masses really wasn't really behind him like that. It was just a big check somebody had, that sort of gimmick. I mean, this was the time too where people got into it. They thought it was a gimmick, and we tried a few flukes here and there. I could truly say, man, I like that one record he did.
Yo, that record now is
really
so
did.
hot.
The Ice Baby.
That record right now is so hot, though.
I mean, I get on some real guilty pleasure, corny shit, whatever you want to call it.
Nostalgia.
I will drop that record and people will bug out. Actually, it's so long, you gotta respect it, that it was a force to be reckoned with in hip hop. It was. It was a good record. Was he a solid artist? Hell no. Was he an MC? No. But it was a dope rap record. It was. No different than the WAP, you know? I mean, shit. Be facts, B. Come on.
Right.
Bun?
Well, I just feel like, I remember when people used to be like, the Vanilla Ices of the world is going to tear hip hop down, and the Hammers of the world. I remember when Hammer was like the worst thing in the world to the hip hop community. And for me, I just always felt like they never gave the hip hop community enough credit. It's like we're smarter than that. We understand what's what. We got no problem with dancing or something that feels good, but we know what we really crave to hear in life. So, we don't all live our lives, sitting in the crib in a dark room with a lamp on at a desk, with your elbow, like, what is life about? You know what I'm saying? And that's, everybody doesn't live their life sitting around thinking like that. And if you are, then I suggest you get help, because, you're not right in the head. There's times where you want to break away from everything and go out, like he says, have a guilty pleasure. For people that love to work out, every now and then they have a cheeseburger. You know what I'm saying? So, every now and then you gotta, take away from, and allow yourself to, don't take yourself seriously. Take life seriously, take your direction and your passion seriously, but don't take yourself too serious. Don't be walking around here every day feeling like you gotta be somebody to other people, man. Just be your fucking self. And that's always been a problem with people, especially in hip hop. Motherfuckers on every spectrum, there's people that feel like they got to be that person all the time, and they put up these walls, and that's why, like he says, we're still in different rooms. You know what I'm saying? It's not because of the fans or the radio. It's because of the artists. Niggas, a lot of these niggas just got to get off that bullshit, and get down to earth. I mean, we got rich niggas, we got broke niggas. That's cool. We got fly niggas. We got,
bum niggas.
All that's cool, man. But we just if we're all doing this for the culture, we should all be able to sit in the same room. You know what I'm saying? We have to take the time to learn each other's struggle and quit looking at a motherfucker and figure like, okay, well, I know what he about. You know what I'm saying? No, you don't, because all real niggas don't dress the same.
Now, I'm usually a very optimistic person, and I remember about 10 years ago, my father-in-law, who was a record guy, would not give Eminem credit. Like, no matter how much I talked about how Eminem was the illest white boy that I ever heard on the mic, he would not give Eminem credit. And then one day he sat down and he was like, yeah, Eminem is nice, but he came from the Elvis days. And he was like, there's going to be a day where Eminem is going to be bestowed the crown as being the king of hip hop. And I was like, that can't happen in this generation, because there's too much identification with all the other cats, the Jay-Z's, the Bun B's, the De La Souls, there's too much identification. But years later, Rolling Stone puts out the magazine, and Eminem is crowned the king of hip hop. So, a couple of years go by.
But Rolling Stones is not a hip hop magazine.
But it's an influential magazine.
It's influential, and I understand, and that shit hurt my heart. Yeah, and I feel you, and that's part of the.
Why did it hurt your heart?
Because it ignited the fear. As someone who loves the culture so much, it ignited the fear in me, like there's going to be an aggressive push to whitewash the culture.
That's the problem. We give too much power to the powerless.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? We give this weight and this levity to a Rolling Stone and an MTV, and we feel like everything that they cast down upon the masses is as it should be. Them niggas not Moses. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so
but here's the other side of that too. If the Rolling Stones and Eric Clapton and all these people can say Chuck Berry is the king of rock and roll, then because he was the nicest doing it, then why can't we as Black America acknowledge Eminem for being the nicest when he was the nicest?
Right.
That don't mean he the nicest ever, but niggas can't sit here and tell me that at one point in hip hop, Eminem wasn't the coldest person doing it.
But I'm agreeing. But
maybe not today, but there was a day when nobody that rapped as good as Eminem.
But what I'm saying is, we all acknowledge. I think there's nobody in this room that's not going to say that at a certain point in his career, he hit the apex of what this thing was. But to see the Eminemism still being perpetuated.
Let's call it. Come on, we all real people in this room. You're talking about the fact that he's white.
Yes,
doing what we perceive to be a black thing,
but still being championed as the best whoever did it now in mainstream media. And so let me fast forward. A couple of weeks ago, I'm watching the VMAs with my kids, and that shit hurt because it to me. Maybe I'm one of those cats that's guilty of giving mainstream media that power, but to me that shit hurt because it said to me, rap is no longer a country for black men. That's what it said to me. So now my 15-year-old son, who doesn't really pay attention to this shit, says to me, Daddy, that shit didn't feel right. He didn't say shit, but he said this didn't feel right. And this is from the mouth of babes.
You know why? Because those that represent this culture don't show it as much respect. Motherfuckers go to the BET Awards trying to sneak weed in, liquor, sagging, just disrespecting the shit out of the BET Awards.
Who got weed in here tonight?
They go to the motherfuckers go to the MTV Awards with Tom Ford. You know what I'm saying? Tuxedos and shit. The same company owned both them motherfuckers. But it's the perception that we don't have to acknowledge and respect each other. When we're in a venue where we're supposed to be rewarding each other for excellence, we don't even strive for excellence to go to the motherfucker.
Church.
Yep. And that's the problem. We can't keep pointing at the white man when we shitting on the black man. That's the problem. The problem is that we have so much bullshit inside our own community. We have no right in place to point the finger at any other community. Because in the world that I live in, yeah, there's this white man world or whatever, but on a day-to-day basis, I see black people hindering black people more.
But don't you think
and
that's
we don't want to talk about that.
Right, but don't you think that's also, and I'm not trying to take blame away from anybody because every man is responsible.
Yeah, and I'm not saying other people aren't culpable.
But don't you think, the way things have slid that, systemically shit is perpetuated, that we have more self-hatred in the community than we've ever had?
No.
No, I wouldn't say that.
No.
I wouldn't say that.
We're
just so far removed from the reality of who we are. This is the problem. See, up until this generation, this is the first generation where the generation before them didn't sacrifice for them. Every generation before has sacrificed for the next generation. My generation didn't do that. My generation bought them shit.
Went for self.
No, not even that. My generation pampered the next generation. We felt a certain way because we never got shit. So we felt like by giving the next generation a bunch of shit that they would appreciate it, but we didn't give them a sense of why we didn't have shit in the first place. So they're so far removed from it now. And now there's no frame of reference for them. And we send them out in this world uneducated of who they are. So now they're just young men out here trying to figure out who they are on the fly. And the only thing that they see on a daily basis that they can relate to is a basketball player and a rapper and a drug dealer. And then they got to make that distinction of who they want to be. But then the rapper looks like the drug dealer too. The ball player looks like the rapper who looks like the drug dealer. It's the shit. We sending mixed messages. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's why I always, whenever, I understand that there's been a co-opting of hip hop, but there's always been a co-opting of culture. Right. And unfortunately, we've been at the forefront of culture for many years, so we feel a certain way. Okay, but then we have to realize the strength of who we are within ourselves before we can question the co-opting of our culture. We have to reclaim our culture in a real way. And that shit starts at home, but home is fucked up for our culture.
Fuck the fuck up.
You know what I'm saying? We have children nowadays that would rather be in the streets at 2 a.m. than be in their house because home is so fucked up. And we wonder why is little man outside? Because the people in his house not only don't give a fuck about him being outside, they don't give a fuck where he at, period. They don't love him in the house. That's why he's out the house. We got a lot of shit we got to clean up. You know what I'm saying? And we got to start pointing the finger at ourselves before we can point the finger at other people. We got to start worrying about Rolling Stone and MTV and start worrying about Jamal and Keisha. That's where it's at. That's where the future's at. And that's why we're losing them. And the reality is that the kids know. The kids know that we didn't do shit for them. People talk shit about 2 Chainz, but 2 Chainz said some ill shit. 2 Chainz said on the record, OGs never fed us. Now young niggas fed up. That's the reality of the inner city. We've lost the big brother struggle. We've lost the uncle struggle, the structure, excuse me. We've lost the big brother structure. We've lost the uncle structure. The only time people in the hood embrace youngsters is as crash test dummies. Hold my pistol, hold my dope, little man. You ain't gonna get no real case. It's bullshit, man. It's bullshit. And we don't want to talk about it. We rather talk about other shit, but we need to talk about the wrong within our house before we go outside and start pointing at somebody else's house.
Mace?
I concur, fam. It's the realest shit y'all.
I ain't mean to preach like that, y'all. I'm sorry. You know what? You know what's funny? My niggas always say when you're on Combat Jack show, you go in.
Yes.
Yeah. And yo, you freestyling, fam.
Like
you freestyling.
You know what? I mean, and I'm not trying to get that heavy. I mean, I love the real dialogue, but let's change it up a little bit, man.
Okay.
You got a coloring book out.
Yes.
Teach the babies.
New York Times bestseller?
Well, we're working on that.
Okay.
We're working on that. You know, it would be the first. There's never been a coloring book in the history of the New York Times bestseller list to make the list. So when we released the book and they saw what was going on for the first time, the Times called the publisher. Usually publishers call the Times to ask how it's doing. The Times called the publisher like, yo, this might happen. We kind of want to see it happen, so we're watching. You know, so when I realized that people are seeing something real happening, it's when we really kind of jumped out there. And initially, I wanted to do a book about hip hop. I wanted to do more of like kind of a oral history. Pause, Pete.
Yeah, no. That was...
I wanted to do like an oral history of hip hop because
wait a minute, is that a pause, internets? Internets?
Only because of the context. Only because of the context. Okay. But initially I wanted to do an oral history of hip hop because a lot of the people that saw it are dying. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the people that was there with Herc, a lot of people that was there with Bambaataa, a lot of people that was there with Flash and those brothers, they're dying. You know what I'm saying? We're starting to see the effects of drinking 40s all day and Mad Dog and blunts and cocaine and primos and all that shit, heroin, all that dumb shit. We're starting to see the effects of that shit. So my initial thing was, we need to start documenting a lot of shit. I realized that was probably going to take like 10, 15 years. So in the process of doing that, I still wanted to do something else. So he's like, well, let's not think so serious. We got the serious shit down. Let's do some fun shit from hip-hop. Because hip-hop is always so fucking serious. Niggas is always, even the very first hip-hop niggas was like,
like real. Right now, we was all
it's
serious.
Real, nigga. Right. You know what I'm saying? So we wanted to do like some fun, lighthearted shit. So we came up with the idea of a coloring book. Initially, the coloring book was for adults only, just like a novelty thing. We wanted to kind of recreate the coloring books that we fucked with when we was little, with the word search and the maze and the shit like that. As we got to doing it and getting more and more people involved, we realized this was an opportunity to be more than just a coloring book. Initially, it's just a coloring book, and it seemed like a fun thing to do. But people want to take the book and give the book to a kid. Like, yo, I'm going to buy this and get this to my nephew. I'm going to get this for my little man. And that's what's wrong right now. Most of the toys and games that we do and create and buy for children are to occupy children in another room while we go sneak off and do some grown shit, get high, email a chick, some sneaky shit. That's what it
World
is.
Star.
That's what all that shit is about, to occupy the child. In this sense, I was like, this is an opportunity to spend time with a child. So we created the book for adults to share with children. We don't want you to give it to a kid. We want you to sit down with a kid, pick different artists, and talk to them about it. That's why we pick old school artists. We pick new school artists. We pick mainstream artists. We pick independent artists. We pick male artists. We pick female artists. West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, down South. We wanted to encompass and embody what hip hop really is And we didn't want a child to sit there looking at these images like they always have to do, trying to figure this shit out. Who should I listen to? Who should I follow? What's this dude really about? Is he really what he says he's about? That's the problem. Kids are trying to figure out too much shit
without reference points.
There you go.
It was to give the kids reference points. But
I knew somewhere deep inside this motherfucker. I knew somewhere deep inside this motherfucker he was going to hit it. It had nothing to do with race. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, nigga.
How's the book doing, man?
It's doing pretty good, man. And even if we don't make the New York Times bestsellers list, we made the radar. We got their attention. And we never did this for money. I don't care about the money, the shit. The shit's $8. I'm not finna make no real money about it. But we're making an impact. People want to talk about it. And because it gives me an opportunity to talk, I can talk about the good shit and the positive shit that hip-hop is doing instead of them asking me about who got shot last week or who robbed who or who beat who up. I get to go on Wendy Williams Monday, which I wouldn't have been able to do if I had a single. I got a single out. That ain't get me on there because that's not.
Even though you rapping in Jamaican?
I ain't rapping in Jamaican. There's some little patois here and there, but
I listened to the record today.
I probably couldn't order dinner in Kingston or no shit like that. But we just, I'm just trying to find different opportunities. I've done what I'm gonna do with rap as far as that's concerned. I've had a lot of what I've done misrepresented. At times I misrepresented myself. I'm in a position now to make sure that everything I represent is clear and plain as possible to motherfuckers. And this gives me a great opportunity to do that shit.
Now you also you're also now into like food journalism.
Yeah, because I like food.
Now tell the internet about what you're working on.
Me and Premium Pete, who you might not know it from looking at him. That motherfucker eats constantly, and that's kind of like I met Pete in the sneaker world, but me and Pete actually bonded over the fact that we like to eat. Like pause. Yeah, that's a good pause.
No. I mean they're eating.
No. There's no.
They're eating. Okay, eating.
Yeah, pause. So. And
we all like to eat on this stage.
And it was the same thing like with the coloring book. Like, how could we do something about what we care about that's different? And just like the coloring book wasn't about money, the food thing wasn't about money. Because if you do shit about money, your heart's not going to be into it. You're not going to give it 100%. And that's just not really, you might get a little bit somewhere, but you're not going to really win. You know what I'm saying? It's always best to follow your heart and get paid for it than to try to get paid and then chase your heart. You ain't going to win like that. So with us, we were like, you know what? Let's just do something ill with food. Like, we love food. Let's do some different shit with food because that would excite us. And we would get into the shit, and we came up with the idea of doing a blog, which is, just basically about, we're just going to take pictures of food.
What's the name of the blog? Tell the name of the blog.
The blog is called YouGottaEatThis.com. I know that. We didn't even realize how much of a pause that was. We didn't even realize how much of a pause that was. It was like, I remember when we made we didn't realize what it was. We made shirts. And I tried to give one to my wife. My wife was like, I ain't wearing that shit. My wife was like, you want me to walk around with a shirt that say, you got to eat this? No, sir. Then
Internet's, the logo writing is encompassed by a black hole.
And what's a black hole, Dallas?
Luckily, it's a circle, because if it had been oval-shaped, it was a wrap. But
Dallas, what's a black hole, man?
The most powerful force in the universe.
One more thing, Bun, that you're doing, man, because you continue to diversify and push the envelope. You're about to perform with the Houston Symphony?
Yeah, I'm going to be the first rapper to perform with the Houston Symphony in 100-year history.
What is that about?
Well, it's the 100-year anniversary of the Houston Symphony and the 100-year anniversary of the Anti-Defamation League. And so they've partnered together to celebrate people in the Houston area who have stood up for civil rights, who have stood up against hatred, against violence and intolerance in their communities and in their cities. And they're honoring these people with a concert. It's called Houston in Concert Against Hate. So chronologically, they're going to go from the early 40s and 50s up until modern times, honoring different people in different eras that stood up in the name of good. And they wanted to incorporate something of the modern time when they got to today. And I guess they went to the Kennedy Center one year, and I believe they saw Wyclef perform, and they realized that there's actually a place for hip-hop in this world. And for years, they were trying to figure out exactly how to present it, how to do it, and most importantly, who to do it with. And apparently, when they had their list of people, I was the first name on the list. And when they called me, I told them, you can ball up the list and throw that bitch away. Because
who's number two?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. It really don't matter who 2 through 99 was. It was a wrap because I was number 1. But, you know, I've been afforded the opportunity because of the fact that who I am and what I represent. I put in a lot of time and a lot of work to the point where I don't have to wake up every day and feel like I need to prove to somebody I'm hard. If a motherfucker don't know I'm hard by now, that's his problem. Try your luck. That's on you. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like I can do things and showcase that, you know, hip-hop is a beautiful thing and it's a great opportunity, but it's not always the end game. You know, and everybody that I've seen from the hip-hop community that have really been able to not just make a lot of money, but also really affect change in the world, you know, use hip-hop as a way to get them into other doors. So, I'm not the clothing line dude. I'm not the liquor company dude. I'm not any of these things yet, you know. But for now, there's other doors that are open to me and available to me. And, you know, everybody's not going to be able to perform with the symphony. Everybody's not going to be able to teach at Rice University. But there is something greater for everybody, no matter where you are now, no matter how good you feel like you got it, there's always something greater for you to do. And if it ain't about getting more money, then it must be about doing more good. You know, because if you're at a point where, like, man, I got money, I'm good, well, then there's other things you need to be achieving for. There's other things you need to strive for. Obviously, you won that game. It's time for you to get in a different game. And so that's what I've been trying to do, man, is get myself in a different game so that other cats will feel like it's okay for them to get in a different game. You know, I take my hood all over the world, but not just with rap music. I take my hood all over the world through a number of different things. And that's what I want to do. I want to represent the best of my people. You know what I'm saying? Not just one side. I want to represent everything. I want to show them that if I can come, I used to live in a duplex, my dude. When you live in I don't know if you know what a duplex is. That's when you're in a house, but basically the house is split down the middle, and one family live on one half of the house. You live in the other half of the house, but you share the bathroom. I got more bathroom than bedrooms in my house now. You know what I'm saying? That's a blessing. And I know I got it good, so I got to go back and make sure that people who haven't got to where I'm at know that that's attainable. Because so much of what we do is about, I got this, you can't get it like me. Well, actually, you can. And because of the fact that I'm here and I've been here and you're just getting here, you're probably going to get it better than I got it. You just got to want that. That's all it is. It's about wanting better and knowing in your mind that you can get to where you want to be and not being concerned with, even if I tell you, my man, you all right, but I don't think rap is your shit. In your mind, socially, but all right, Bun B, I respect your opinion. You might be like, yo, fuck that nigga. I'm finna go get mine. Bun B don't know what the fuck he talking about. I respect the OG, but that nigga might be losing it. That nigga might have smoked too much or sipped too much or something, because that nigga don't know I'm the next motherfucker. He must not know I'm finna be the next OG. That's the mentality you gotta have, because niggas told me I wasn't gonna be that nigga. I don't even know where them niggas at right now. You know what I'm saying? But and that's the reality of it, man. You have to want it more than anybody else feels you don't deserve it.
Maseo. Let's get our overarm. Maseo, man, one of the biggest complaints I think we all generally have is that, you know, when you look at, you know, the current quote-unquote legends of rock and roll, man, the Rolling Stones still have a touring career. Aerosmith and names like that still have a touring career. You guys, I don't think, get enough credit. You've been doing shows on top of recording for 25 years, consistently. How many shows do y'all do a year, man?
I can't count how many shows, but we tour pretty much 6 to 8 months a year for the last 25 years.
That's good work if you can get it. Real talk.
What makes De La Soul different from a lot of your other contemporaries that keeps you doing that and being perfectionists at doing that for 25 years, man?
Well, I definitely learned a lot 88, 89, being under being under the administrative management of Rush and being
Google that. Internet's Rush
being
management.
In my opinion, the best managers I ever had in this business was Russell Simmons and Leor Cohen, who I felt wrote the blueprint to hip hop business. And a lot of us who have sustained ourselves for many years, I think follow that blueprint to this very day. Especially when we were taught that your first 2 albums was pretty much 15 minutes of fame, because the new guy is coming. You have to work on a plan that's going to sustain yourself and have a career in this.
What were they teaching y'all? What were they training y'all? What was Leor and Russell? What was the blueprint that's not necessarily present in today's game?
Well, when I reflect on it these days, I go, they actually mimic what was going on with rock and roll and punk rock. And that was, rock and roll, especially punk rock more than anything, was a rebel music, just like hip hop, not really being accepted by there was a subculture of rock and roll. So they were definitely more drug induced, wild with it, even socially conscious, It stemmed with a lot. It had a major connection with hip hop in its development, and I believe they extract that blueprint for hip hop, especially when it considered to be a rebel music, something that was not permitted by the masses, and we followed that nightclub tradition of going around the world trying to promote what we're doing, and that blueprint still exists today, even on a mainstream level, because it's important.
We had Big Daddy Kane on our show recently, and I asked him how did he become such a master at his stage performance, and he blew my mind. He was like, when he was coming up, he had somebody like Dougie Fresh pull him off the stage and be like, you got to do this, and why didn't you do that? And he took that criticism.
And that's the truth, because we had Kane. And we had Chuck and Flav. We had LL. What most artists are not doing today, listening to the cats that come before you. That's something that's going lost. The guidance, the teachers, people that as much as Bun say, we have to be willing to teach the youth. They have to be willing to accept the knowledge as well.
Right.
And I think, on the grand scale of what the industry has done, they have put so much money on the table where the new cat don't really want to listen to the old cat, because he's actually saying to himself, well, yo, this is my time and I'm making more money than you. So who are you for me to listen to when I'm making way more than you, not having to really do all of that?
You're not hot no more.
Well, I'm not hot, but I'm considered a legend.
Right. No, I'm not saying you.
No. The reality of what they say.
Right.
Is what they say. You're not hot no more. Yeah, you're hot, which will eventually be cold. But my fans consider me classic, and they consider me a legend. There's something about what I've done to get that title from them. I didn't give it to myself. You called yourself hot.
That's just like White Torre.
I didn't call myself hot.
What?
My fans call me hot. The rapper today, calls himself hot. You know what I mean? We always relied, the era we come from, we relied on just tenacity and making good music and let the public decide what it's going to be, how it's going to be. If they say I'm a star, then that's what they say. Me, I didn't consider myself that. I consider myself the same dude in my mama's crib that was doing this in my underwear in front of the mirror. I just been able to listen to some people who came before me to take what I was doing in my underwear and put some Lees on and some Adidas on with it to bring the professionalism of what they felt I had to grow.
But to add on what you just said, because you said exactly what Kane said. Kane said he would take what little money he had and go and buy the VHS tapes of the James Browns, of the Earth, Wind and Fires, of the Parliament Funkadelics, cats that had nothing to do with hip hop, but they were masters of their game. And he was like, you know what? We don't necessarily have cats in hip hop performing like this, but I'm gonna take James Brown doing the splits and bringing that to hip hop. And we don't see that anymore. We basically see, I mean, some cats today definitely have a lot of stage presence. I mean, you know, that's why I salute a brother like 2 Chainz, because he has a lot of stage presence.
Well, 2 Chainz is a unique situation. He's been around for some time.
He's a veteran.
Yeah, he is a vet, which, you know, he reinvented himself. Mm-hmm. You know, which people fail to realize. I have a lot of respect for him, because here it is. He totally presented himself as a completely new artist. You know, you wouldn't know that he came from
Titty Boy.
Exactly. You know, yeah. So, you know, he's a unique situation, no different than Weezy is even in a unique situation, because little people fail to realize Lil Wayne is old school, fam. Like,
he's a veteran.
He just been around since he was like 11. You know what I mean? You know, so there's some unique cases out there, but you have a lot of the new that don't want to take the advice of the old because of how it's systematically designed.
Let's sell some shit, man. What are you working on right now?
I'm working on a solo project, which is called DJ Conductor. I'm working with a cat by the name of Bill Ray. Comes out of Harlem. I think he's a very credible New York MC. I think he'll play a major part in sustaining what or redeveloping what needs to take place in our city, and working on the new De La Soul album.
Tell us about that new album, man.
It takes long, as usual. But creatively, everybody's in a good space. I mean, we never really stopped creating, but I think more as the drive is behind us to put out music next year. I mean, we actually celebrating 25 years as a group. Well, 25 years of 3 Feet High Rising, you know, and just trying to put out more music because people, the fans do anticipate it, and we still love making the music. You know, I think what's happening now is putting the battery in our back, thanks to Chuck and even LL this past summer with the programs that they put together with the King of the Mic and other things that are coming together to show the growth in hip hop, how hip hop is truly growing up, that we do have at least about 3 generations of it now, you know, and that it's okay to be grown folks loving hip hop and performing hip hop.
I just had a flashback of the work that went into buying De La Soul's first album. Like, this is before internets. This is before, you know, release dates was common knowledge. Like to us, as fans back then, it was a mystery when the album was going to drop. So I knew your album was going to drop sooner or later, but like for 2 months, every Tuesday, I would go to the record store, like, did the album drop? And one day I was like, man, like I knew, like I visualized, I was like, De La Soul's album is going to drop today. So I walked to the record store and your shit was there. And that shit was like magic, B. That shit was like magic. I mean, that's a little selfish, you know, going down memory lane, but I just remember the joy I had when I saw the shit and y'all had the haircuts and the yellow album cover, you know what I'm saying? Bun, tell us about your new album, man.
New album is called Trilogy, the epilogue. It's actually songs that I recorded during the Trilogy sessions, and you know, they were good songs, but there was a certain kind of a feeling that I wanted to have with Trilogy, and I recorded like 35, 40 songs for the album, so obviously everything can't go on there, but they're all good songs. And you know, Jay Prince was like, man, this shit is some good music. This shit just sitting over here. We need to do something with it. You're not gonna use it for your next album. I think this music is an album within itself. And at first I was like, I don't know. But then when I started listening to it, I was like, this music actually collectively has its own vibe. And I feel like, you know, everything happens for a reason. And these songs, it was really more like there were 2 albums recorded. So this is kind of like a secondary album from those same sessions. So that comes out next month sometime.
Okay. You know the exact date?
Who knows the date? October 12th or November 12th? It's already October, so it must be November. Yeah, November 12th.
November.
I lose track of days and time.
Now, going back to the Rolling Stone, I was reading an article that dropped today that you did an interview, and their understanding was that this album is you, quote unquote, putting an end to Trill. I wanted you to just. This
is a misconception. It's putting the end to naming albums like Trill this or Trill that, but you'd have to put an end to me. to put an end to Trill. And even in that sense, my son is right there. So even when I'm gone, Trill lives on. You know?
So don't necessarily put too much power.
Well, again, you know, we talked about how Rolling Stone, you know, is a little iffy with hip hop from time to time, and I'm sure they meant the best. You know what I'm saying?
I will admit,
but I have no problem with clarifying that shit at all. I am Trill.
There's some hip hop fans over at Rolling Stones that's trying to make a difference, but we know they don't derive from the culture.
Right.
You know, I'm glad they're just trying to.
I mean,
participate.
It's meant to be out of love and respect. You know what I'm saying? But people perceive things differently. It's our job to let people know what the real thing is and not be scared to go against what, quote, Rolling Stone may have said. You know, Rolling Stone ain't really never done that much for me. I appreciate it, but if they said fuck me tomorrow, which they probably will, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? I still got y'all. I don't need Rolling Stone.
You know, I got one more question to ask y'all, and then I want to open up the floor to a couple of questions.
You don't say nothing right now.
When Kane was on our show, I asked him what was the greatest moment of his career to date, and he said when he was working with Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones was making the comparison between scat music and hip hop. So Quincy Jones got on the phone and called Ella Fitzgerald, and it was like, Ella, you got to hear Big Daddy Kane. So then he gave the phone to Big Daddy Kane. And Big Daddy Kane rapped to Ella Fitzgerald, and Kane was like, to this day, that was like the greatest period of my life. Ella necessarily didn't understand what I was saying, and she passed shortly thereafter. But he said the fact that me from Bed-Stuy, who was thugging out, and all of a sudden I fell into the shit, I rapped to Ella Fitzgerald. So I'm curious to both of you gentlemen, man, your memory, your greatest moment to date in this game.
Man, I got so many.
Mine is very clear. We sampled Use Me Up by Bill Withers on our first album. And when it came time to clear the sample, Bill Withers said, I'm not clearing nothing until I talk to the group. So we got on the phone with Bill Withers, and Bill Withers basically explained music publishing to us. Like an hour and a half phone call, just really explaining what it meant to own your music. And like he was explaining that, he's like, okay, you work at a label where the person that's over your record company is the nephew of the man that stole my publishing. So he was educated to, this is the way he's explaining it to me. He said, so the person that's over your music and in control of your destiny learned from someone who thought the best way and the easiest way and the smartest way to get ahead was to steal. So it's important that you know who you're dealing with. He said, now let me explain to you how they stole from me so they don't steal from you. And this man didn't know me from Adam, but he felt an obligation to warn me about the music industry and the perils. And as most of us know as musicians, your publishing is the most valuable part of your career. When you're gone, dead and gone, your family will still be able to eat off of you, not because your shit plays on the radio or is in a movie or in a commercial, but because you own the publishing to the song that plays in TV on a commercial. That shit could play all day, and you'll just be a mad motherfucker looking at TV because you sold everything for that Benz and a nice chain. Meanwhile, a person that you ain't seen in 20 years is feeding his grandkids off of your struggle. So for me, I feel obligated to educate other artists. Every time I work with an artist, even if we don't actually do the song, I still feel obligated to give them some kind of game to get ahead, because Bill Withers didn't have that to do. And I'm able to feed my family, and even Pimp C is gone. But 5 years later, his family can still get checks because of the game that this man gave us, and the fact that we weren't closed-minded enough to take that game. Because we could have been like Mace was saying, oh, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. You ain't been in this game. This rap, nigga. This that new shit. You was on that other shit with guitars, nigga. This that new shit. And you'll be surprised how easy it is for you to feel that way. You'll be surprised, like he was saying earlier, how much it don't take that much money. You think motherfuckers get millions or whatever to get the big heads? I mean, it only take like $50,000, $60,000 sometimes for a dude to completely change.
A Benz in a chain.
Go against, I knew it. No, but seriously, and that's what it's out. Like, either want a Benz or a Beamer.
Mace.
I mean, definitely one of my ultimate greatest moments was the third album, Balloon Mind State.
Great album.
The least successful album.
But it's a great album.
Thank you, man. And having the opportunity to work with the JBs, Maseo Parker, P.B. Ellis, and Fred Wesley, who are the original backbone to James Brown. And to be able to work with them on so many different cuts, let alone watch how they conduct musicians in the studio and hear those famous James Brown stories of how a lot of things came together. It was the most amazing thing to be a part of. And then every time the phone ringing and it's for Maseo, and we looking at each other, not sure if it's the Mace with the C or the S. You know what I'm saying?
That's wild.
Did y'all ever have a conversation about having the same phonetically sounding name?
His first name is Maseo. My last name is Mason. So that era, we got our names from our friends. So my stage name is literally my nickname. And we've had many nicknames, but Mace's was stuck. Because in Long Island, if you realize with Long Island rappers, majority of everybody go by their real name. Keith Murray, Eric Sermon, Chuck D. Everybody has somewhat of their real name. Even Craig Mack, that's his real name, And in school, we called everybody pretty much by their last name. And I was Mace, Pos was Merce, but he ended up calling himself Postanus because at one point he was a DJ named Sop Sound, and he changed his name backwards, But yeah, my greatest moment was with the JBs. Man.
Thank you.
A comment. One more question for you, Mace. I'd be remiss if I didn't
hold on to your chair, Mace.
If I'd asked you what it was like. I mean, from the De La Soul Godhead, we get so many great artists and contributors to hip hop. But I just thought today, listening to some Dilla music, how creative, how incredible was this guy to be around for that period of time?
Oh, Dilla? Oh, man. I mean, he was a breath of fresh air. I mean, if you look at the history of De La Soul, period, we've always embraced the new. We've always have. Dilla, Q-Tip, Fife. All the Most Def. I mean, whether you was on or you blew up or didn't blow up, we always embraced the new talent. That was inspiration for us to keep doing our thing. De La Soul's whole thing is predicated on the respect for hip-hop, new and old. So we always embraced the new talent, and we always paid homage to our music, to who came before us and who was rocking with us at that current time, So, it's just a natural thing for us, It's always just been a natural thing.
Dig it. Rest in peace, Dilla.
Rest in peace, Pete.
Dilla he's amazing. He was just a beautiful dude to be around. He made great music. He brought it to the table, fam. It's that simple. You showed up to the studio, dude playing a cassette, and you're like, who's that? And then they point at this guy who's just sitting there bopping his head like this. And you're like, yo, this dude is incredible. And then you get to know him, and you get to see how gangster his ass is and all kinds of shit. You get to learn a whole lot about him. He's missed, man. He's definitely missed.
Thank you, man. Let's take some questions from the audience. Let's line up right here. A couple of questions. No fuck shit today. Like we had some fuck shit questions yesterday. No fuck shit questions. No fucky bird questions today. Questions.
What's going on? This question's for both of y'all. It's two questions, as a matter of fact. Oh. Name is Gerard. They call me G-Rock. Run the shoegang.com. But, I wouldn't need no piff about that.
Okay.
So the question for both of y'all, man, y'all OGs, y'all been in the game for a minute. Just curious about some of the newer artists, whether they just got in the game or they've been in the game for maybe 5 years or whatever that y'all are most impressed with that y'all feel are taking hip-hop in the right direction. So that's for both of y'all. And the second question, Bun, if Pimp was still around, how different do you think the landscape of hip-hop would be with a lot of the foolery and a lot of the faking? Because, he was somebody that didn't bite his tongue. So just curious to hear that.
Well, an artist that I think, there's definitely, because he's heavy in the mainstream, and I think we all pay attention to him, but I have a lot of respect for his work and how he's combating what's going on in the corporate infrastructure just to get his point across. I like Drake. I like Drake a lot. You know? I think he has a lot. He's very versatile with what he does. And I think he delivers very well. And when it come down, and now that I see he holding some chips and he got a bit more power and in control, I'm hearing some more records to the core of what he really wanted to do, you know. And that's in today's game, that's a bit of a compromise and a sacrifice that could be pretty dangerous, you know, which I respect him having the balls to do it, you know.
For the first question, I think for me, especially when you say over the last 5 years, it's been interesting to watch B.O.B., Bob. Because I remember when Bob was walking around in these hip-hop clubs with that guitar on his back. And niggas used to look at Bob crazy, and niggas used to talk stupid about Bob behind his back. And he heard the shit and didn't give a fuck. And, you know, for him to not only move past all the shit that motherfuckers gave him, but to actually succeed in a way where people had to turn around and be like, yo, my bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, he validated his entire struggle, and he showed people that you don't have to be who you think you need to be. Just be who you are. And there's very few people in hip-hop that I think would have stood up to that kind of just constant negativity. Just people just constantly telling you every day, don't be you. Be somebody else. Go be like him. Go be like that. And that's something we got to get away from hip-hop. We always want to talk about originality, but we'll give more attention to somebody that's a fake somebody than another person that's a real them. We got to get away from that type of shit. To your second question about Pimp C, I guess a lot of people think that Pimp C would have been out here blasting people and just telling people, you know who I don't like this, woo, woo, woo. The reality is that if Pimp had an opinion or felt a certain way about you, one, it probably wasn't negative, it just was real, and it just was something you didn't want to hear. But two, Pimp didn't need a magazine or a radio show to tell you how he felt. He had no problem going to you. And then after he would tell you, look, man, you doing this wrong, he would try to tell you how to do it right. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of times that people don't want to hear that. When people ask, you know, people cut on the record and be like, man, what you think? They don't want to know what you think. They want you to validate what they think. You know what I'm saying? People don't really want a real opinion, because once you give one to them, they face start changing up and shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's instantaneous. It's like, what do you think about this record, man? Well, I mean, it's all right. Word? Like, you know? and people tend to take that type of shit personally, because, like, this is my record, this is my life, this is my struggle. How you gonna say my struggle ain't real? I ain't saying it ain't real. It just ain't jamming, dude. Like, you know? So Pimp was just so honest about things, and he just wanted everybody to be real. You know, that was his only thing. It was like, man, you know, everybody just trying to be something that they not, and that's why don't nobody like nobody. Because everybody is not who they supposed to be. You'll look at somebody on TV or see and be like, man, I don't like that nigga. Them niggas over there, them niggas think they all that. You know, when I met Pimp and I didn't like each other. Couldn't stand each other because we didn't know each other, and we had already had preconceived notions of who we were. And then once we got with each other, man, it was the world against us. There was nobody we wanted to be around more. We couldn't stand each other. I'm like, we had a mutual friend. No, it was the day we were about to get into blows was the day we began our friendship. Because we had a mutual friend, and I'm telling that nigga, like, yo, I know that shit, man. I don't like that nigga. So I know you fuck with him, and that's cool. I don't fuck with him. And Pimp telling him the same thing. Like, I know you fuck with Bun. I don't like that nigga. You know? So, like, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but we were somewhere, and I said something. And he's like, nigga, you lying, nigga. I'm sick of this shit. You always talk about you done this, and you doing this, nigga, you lying. And I pulled out a picture. I ain't lying. That's the proof. He's like, damn, nigga, you wasn't lying all this time after you was lying. So then I was like, yeah, nigga, you know, just like you be trying to lie and act like you, no, nigga, I got equipment in my house. And then was like, oh, shit. What's up, my nigga? But nice to meet you. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it's funny because everybody seems to, in their minds, they feel like Pimp C is that dude on the Interview. You know, that's their lasting image of Pimp C. You know what I'm saying? And that is a part of him. But that's not all of who he was. You know what I'm saying? And there was so much more to Pimp C that, unfortunately, most people will never know. Most people will never know how generous he was. Most people will never really know how silly he was, how great of a laugh he had, you know. But
Pimp C loved Pasta News. That
he
loved me up.
He loved y'all, man. And people would have never thought that. People, you know, we were good friends with Paz. We were good friends with Lord Jamar from Brand Nubians. Good friends with Talib Kweli. People that society had already said y'all don't fuck with each other. You know, and we worked hard to tell them when we did the song Live Wires Connect with UGK and Lord Jamar and Keith Murray. That was about tearing walls down because they wanted like a Brand Nubian hip hop song, and then they wanted a song from us, and we like refused to do it unless we all could just do one song together. And was like, you know, it may not make a big difference, but it feel different. You know what I'm saying? And at least we trying to make the statement that this shit ain't all what it looked like. You know what I'm saying? Most of us are the same person. We just dress different. Look at motherfuckers in this room. There's very few people in this room that are just really dressed alike, but we all in here on the same shit. So we all the same people. We all have that same energy. You know what I'm saying? And like I said before, all real niggas don't dress the same. There is no uniform for being real. You know what I'm saying? Because being real ain't on the outside. It's on the inside, man.
Church. Rest in peace, Pimp C. Rest in peace, Pimp C.
I be dropping them gems on the Combat Jack show. I already know truck back there like, I told you, man, and it be going off. It be going off.
My name's Romy from Augusta, Georgia, and I'm just an engineer, but...
Nah, no such thing, man. I wouldn't have a career if it wasn't the fact that I had good engineers every time. They're a very vital part of the process.
I mean, I'm not a sound engineer, but like I
electrical engineer.
Plant. Yeah.
Even more so. You even more important.
That's right. Because I ain't paying my light bill, Romy. I might need you to do a connection through the building.
I see. I'll make a call.
Music ain't never killed nobody. A musician maybe, but not music.
My question is for Bun. All the things that you've done, all the mediums from the coloring book and the blog about food, and the cliche that a lot of hip hop is usually clothing, liquor, or shoes. Yeah, and what kind of market is, in your opinion, is untapped, or you think might be most vital that hip hop is not taking advantage of? Besides, you know, McDonald's using hip hop to sell frappes and burgers and shit, but what do you think hip-hop could be using or to, you know, medium that's untapped that could be reaching their audience that they're not taking advantage of?
I believe that a big part of hip-hop that's missing is the conduit. When I say the conduit is the person that takes hip-hop from the culture out to other people. We need more Steve Stouts. That's the reality. We need more people that fully understand this culture, that can take it to corporate America and represent it in a real way and make sure that hip-hop is dealing with corporations that respect it, not people that just want to use it. Hip-hop sells each and every fucking thing on the planet. There is nothing sold on this planet that isn't in some form or fashion. Even the hamsters is breakdancing, even though it's EDM, they still breakdancing. The culture's there. There's no escaping it now. It's part of the landscape. But the problem is that we have too many middlemen misrepresenting hip-hop. And they're enticing the wrong people for the wrong reasons. So corporate America says, hey, we have this product. We want to sell it. Who should we sell it to? So the middleman is going to take it to the person that he can get the most money out of and manipulate the most, as opposed to the person that's going to ask questions and possibly turn it down. You know what I'm saying? So you have somebody like, how much they paying? Shit, let's do this shit. You know, and then there's a person like, well, what I got to do? Oh, no, money ain't that serious. You know what I'm saying? So it all depends on what you're in the game for. And, you know, and just for me, I've just been in it for different reasons. But when I decide to put this mic down, like that's kind of what I've been trying to do, is be that conduit that takes hip hop and make sure that it's, if we're dealing with corporate America, that we can compensate it and we're being represented like we should be. And that's where the Russell Simmons, the Leors, the Steve Stouts, people like that are making sure that rappers get rich in a real way without having to put on a fucking clown suit. And I don't mean a real clown suit, a proverbial clown suit, which is basically having you do anything that you know ain't in your nature. Basically.
But let me add to that, too.
Hold on.
Why?
Dallas.
Wait. That question was for me. Why would you answer?
Dallas, I got to say this. Let me say this. The venue said we only have 5 minutes, which means we only have really 3 minutes.
Oh, shit.
So I want to give one more question. You could talk your shit.
I apologize because I've been long-winded.
Rice University.
Yes.
Education.
He's stealing your question, man.
To answer your question, hip-hop needs to get into schools more, from the universities to the high schools to the grade schools to the nurseries.
Damn, I gotta clap for that. That was real. Thank you, Dallas.
All right. My name Carnage. I'm from Miami. This question is for Macy. 3 Feet High and Rising was like one of my favorite albums, and it had a lot of skits in it. I wanted to know what went into making the skits, and do you feel like if hip-hop would benefit from making skits like that now? Because it doesn't really exist.
Delirium went into making them skits. Just really being, I mean, at that moment in time, more than anything, just allowing ourselves to really capture our innocence. Like, I got up with my childhood friends, and we were really being kids. That was my moment in time. Being in the studio, here it is, we all, especially in New York, if you 15 years old, you kind of like, you move like an 18-year-old. We all grew up pretty fast. Being amongst my friends making this music, it allowed me to really be 15, 16, 17, you know, really be a child. You know, this was my childhood dream. You know, this was the moment in time in my life, the only time that I got to operate with a child mentality, with my friends, playing in what we called our sandbox, you know, because after what I'm doing with them, I'm dealing with some real issues at home, you know. I'm dealing with some issues that got me growing up faster than I really should, you know. But when I got with this music, it allowed me to be really silly. And that's where the skits came to life. Prince Paul was definitely a catalyst of giving us confidence to explore every emotion that we wanted in our music, whether it was happy, sad, you know, angry, and just being silly, you know. Nothing really that deep.
Yo, so what does touche et lele poop mean?
It spells shut the hell up backwards.
Listen, guys, let's give these guys a round of applause, man.
Especially Maseo, because he was just here as a spectator.
Yeah,
and took the time to come up here and give us some real gems. So salute this brother.
Salutes, man. I didn't get to say this last night, but to those of y'all that listen to the show, man, I want to close it with my usual tagline: dream those dreams, and then man up and live those dreams, because a life without dreams is black and white, and the universe flows in Technicolor and surround sound. Salutes. Thank you.
Salute.
Numinati.
Yo, internet, you tune into the Combat Jack Show, thecombatjackshow.com. F your radio, man.